Hey, Mike, you know what's funny?
What's funny?
It's funny how money changes situation. That is the lead lyric on the album that we are about to talk about. We're going all the way back to 1998 in our 50 for 50 series. The excuse me, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. W-
Yes,
Where were you on August 19th, 1998?
I was salty because on August 12th, 1998, I was out at midnight at a local record store that was open past midnight, hoping to get a copy of The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which didn't come out for another week. So on August 19th, 1998, I am fairly certain that even though I was working in a record store at the time, I went to one that was open past midnight to buy my cassette copy of Miseducation.
You know what's funny is that was a thing because I had worked at Blockbuster Video for many a year when I was in college. And there was a point where Blockbuster Music became a thing.
Right,
And then they decided to start selling CDs at Blockbuster Video as well. So we would get all of these CDs and we couldn't sell them because of the street date.
right.
So, like, people who were, maybe not as on the up and up, they're like, "Oh, Wu-Tang, the double album, this thing doesn't come out for like 3 weeks and we have them. Sorry, it's now mine." Like that was happening because
uh,
and I think part of the reason is because the Blockbuster Video Store understood how to do that stuff with movies, but the music stuff was like so different. Like we didn't even know how many units we had. Like we didn't even know like how that stuff worked. So
oh,
people were doing some stuff with those albums and having these things in their CD players many weeks before the release date.
I mean, I think everyone that worked at a record store, uh, at least back then, I can't speak to now, had stories of there being some internal shifting of product. Uh,
I mean the origin story of how file sharing happens, right?
right,
Like it happens at a CD printing plant,
right.
essentially.
Yeah, because you get this product early. I mean, in the case of a CD plant, you're getting it weeks early. When I worked at record stores, we generally got product that came out on Tuesday, the previous Thursday or Friday. So we usually only got things a few days early. But if you're at the plant, you're getting stuff 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks early, and you can get on the internet. And for a highly anticipated record to leak it, you know, and then tons of people can get it for free.
Yeah. The clout back then, that was what the
Yeah,
clout was about, was, "Oh,
yeah.
who's got the new stuff?" So, where was I? I was trying to figure this out. I remember now, my memory versus what the actual release date of the album is. My
Mhm.
memory is that, in college, like, on the first day of classes for, the fall semester, that I was rocking this album, and I think in my mind, maybe I'd gone to because we had a Warehouse Records right across the street from campus, so a lot of times I would leave lecture early to just go because the record store opened at 10, go get the stuff, and then come back to
Come
my
back.
next class, and I have
Yeah.
everything with me, and so that's kind of my memory about this, but it's quite possible that I bought it and then had it by the time I was on campus with my mini disc player. But, yeah, I for some reason, I always think about this album with the beginning of fall semester of 1998. And also thinking like, I wonder who else has this album on this campus at this time, because it was the hot thing, but I don't know that people thought it was gonna blow up like it did.
Huh. That might be West Coast versus East Coast perspective. I was the record store that I was working at was in the Bronx, and from the first day, people were coming in and buying that record out. I want to say we played it in the store probably every day for 6 months, because every time it played, it got a reaction. But at people, the streets were just super, super hyped for this release.
You know what's funny is we're gonna talk about this album as well. I wouldn't even say I was a giant fan of the score. Like, I liked the score. I know what album you don't have back there, which is called Blunted on
Bunch it up.
Reality.
I would fuck your head up if I pulled a copy of that out right now. No,
Um, that was, yeah, that's a little bit of we'll talk about the differences in the music back then too. But, like, I liked the score. I thought a lot of those songs just got overplayed on the radio, so there was a little bit of a burnout of the Fugees for me. But when I knew that Lauryn was coming out, I was like, "Okay," because to me, and you'll see this in kind of the evolution of the Fugees, I care way more about what Lauryn's doing than anybody else in that group.
sure.
And what's interesting is I'm going to guess, now I'm not 100% sure because the stories, of the Wyclef side and the Lauryn side, which we will also get into, they're not the same necessarily.
Surprise, surprise.
I'm going to guess that Wyclef wrote a lot of the rhymes, or Wyclef, or maybe even people closer to him than Lauryn, because Lauryn was kind of like, she was a little bit of a hired gun as a rapper, kind of learning how to rap versus being an MC from the beginning,
Like on the score, you mean?
like just in the Fugees. Like
I
if
don't
you
know, man. I mean, as a lyricist, even I would say, even as the youngest member of the group and maybe kind of like an amateur rhymer, Lauryn Hill, from a skill set perspective, was like leagues ahead of Wyclef and
Oh,
Prime.
100%. And that's why I really thought that she was maybe the big star of the group, because if Wyclef is writing her rhymes or somebody else is writing her rhymes, and Wyclef is also writing his rhymes, he comes off so corny compared to Lauryn every time they rap.
Yeah,
And so I'm just thinking like, okay, it's like the same person. Why does this sound so much better coming out of her voice? Why is the conviction? Why the way that she, you know, the way she uses syllables to accent, and doing some research, it sounds like she literally just kind of taught herself how to do it by listening to really good rappers. She's, like, heavily influenced by Ice Cube, and so she becomes she's not only the voice and the singer of the group, but she's also the best rapper in the group, and so it makes 100% sense as to why Miseducation of Lauryn Hill becomes what it is.
right. Yeah, I mean, look, I think in every episode so far where we've talked about a group, we've said something to the effect of no group is created equally. So in this case, you had Wyclef, Lauren, and Pras, and Lauren was Michael, Wyclef was maybe Jermaine, and Pras was Tito. So
I was joking with Mike as we were doing research, and I was like, "Yeah, I listened to both Fugees records. I listened to a lot of. I didn't go through the Wyclef catalog, but I listened to a lot of the solo singles and stuff. Obviously, was listening to Lauren, and I joked and I said, "Yeah, I did a search for Proz's greatest hits, and nothing turned up."
Ghetto Superstar the remix, Ghetto Superstar the instrumental.
Exactly. All right, so where are we going to start here? Well, we were both 22 years
18
old
years
when this
old.
album came out.
Yeah,
You're working at this point. You're at the record store.
I am working at the Wiz on Fordham Road in the Bronx.
So when you think about what this album was in 1998, and to me, I was like, this is a superstar in the making is coming through my headphones. And then to what it means now, which is Lauren never reached the level of fame that she probably should have reached based on her talent for many reasons, and we'll go into some of them. And in some ways, it's almost like her career is a bit of a disappointment. But in other ways, I kind of wonder if having the one iconic album and nothing else to change the memory of who you are might actually be the play.
Yeah. Yeah. People talk about that a lot with certain artists. It's like when people talk about Nirvana, it's like if Kurt Cobain didn't die after 3 Nirvana albums, will we have like a bunch of really crappy late 90s, early 2000s Nirvana records? Sometimes, D'Angelo, may he rest in peace, only made 3 albums, and all 3 of those albums are good. Would his legacy be the same if he had made 6 albums or 9 albums? Because they probably wouldn't all be as good as the 3 that came out. Uh, you know, Miseducation means that Lauren is essentially one for one. Like she's batting 1,000. You don't want to like then make 2 ass albums after that and be
She
batting
never had the
233.
sophomore jinx.
Right. Right.
Which is what happens to a lot of these folks, and you've heard the stories of your first album is great, and then the second album maybe doesn't reach the apex of that first album, and then your label's disinterested in you because they
Right.
expected the follow-up to be just as big or bigger.
Right. Right. Exactly. So there's something to be said. As much as I wish there was another Lauren Hill record, it I'm kind of okay with the fact that she never really got the opportunity to make like a crappy record.
There is a live album,
Right, the
the
unplugged record.
MTV Unplugged
Yeah.
record, which was just weird when it
I
came out.
mean, there are people that love that album and kudos to them. I think I might have tried to get through that album twice. I have not listened to it in 25 years. It's just like I have no interest at all.
If Kanye doesn't sample the song
Mm,
for,
all falls down.
All Falls Down,
Mhm.
then that album is probably even more forgotten than it is.
I mean, ultimately, and I don't want to make a lot of noise and like get on Wikipedia or whatever, but the album went platinum.
Yeah.
So, but that was just off of like fumes. That was off of people wanting to buy something by Lauryn Hill. And again, I mean, this was maybe 1999, 2000, 2001. I remember people buying that album trying to return it.
I'm sure I bought it the first day that it was available, and
Yeah,
I
I
even
mean,
saw
same.
the live performance. I
Yeah,
remember seeing the performance on TV just going like, "She's kind of weird during this performance."
right.
Now, the one thing that is really cool, now she is in, by the definition of rock star guitarist, like, she's an amateur with the guitar at this point. I don't know if she's improved or if she
I
still
think
plays
she's
or not,
gotten better.
but she's playing very simple things, but what's cool on that album is she'll play and she'll sing and then she'll rap, and then she'll play like, that was very artistic, and that's what I even though the guitar playing was very simplistic, that was awesome, and that was maybe the one thing I got out of that album. It's like, "Okay, there's, like, something bubbling here with this woman, and, like, she's got all of this talent and just these ideas, and her life goes a different direction."
Direction.
Um
Look, I respect her doing something that's really unexpected. Um, just because I didn't like the execution doesn't mean that it was a miss. It just means that, it wasn't for me. Wasn't for a lot of people. But, people are gonna go the direction they're gonna go.
Okay, so through this recent listen of this album, and I'm sure you've listened to it many, 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 many times over the
Yes,
years. It's an
indeed.
easy one to get into. This is my wife's favorite album of all time.
Wow.
So did your views change? Is it just like that very familiar, like it put you in a nice place? Like what were your feelings around your recent listen?
I think there's a few things. One is that it definitely puts me back into that fall 1998, winter 1998, where, like I said earlier, I'm working in a record store. My life is kind of this record store because I'm traveling 2 hours to get there. I'm traveling 2 hours to get home. It is pretty much all of my day, 5 days a week. Like
Hmm.
I'm super invested in this job. And we only had a rotation of maybe like 15, 20 albums that we could play over and over on in-store play in the store. And also you can't play anything with explicit lyrics.
Yeah,
So
she doesn't really
that
cuss on this album.
right, she doesn't cuss. I mean, she might say one or two cuss words. So Miseducation, believe me when I tell you, not exaggerating, we played that record every day for like 6, 7, 8, 9 months. So that album is like embedded in my brain. And as I listen to it now, the music is still really good. Like I can recite most of that album from memory at this point. Um, I It's hard for me to get through some of the skits. I wish there was a way to program
Yes.
those out.
Yes.
Uh, and also, it's really hard to listen to the album without considering everything that Lauryn Hill has done since, in having it kind of color your perception of the record in a certain way. Um, so I try to make that separation and just enjoy it for the music. Uh, and it's still a great record.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. When I listened to it this last there have been moments where I would listen to it and I'd go, "I know this record so well, it's become a little bit boring to me."
Mhm.
But my recent listen, I was just kind of mesmerized again with her voice and but it is some of it is that whole idea of like if we run Lauren's life back, or musical career back 10 times, the apex of it, she's the biggest star in music and
Right.
like the Michael Jackson of her time,
Right. I mean, like,
which maybe that's what she was maybe trying to avoid also.
I think she was trying to avoid that. I think she wanted to be successful. And look, Lauryn Hill was groomed, right? To be a super success. Like, she was on TV as like a
Yep.
14, 15-year-old.
Oh,
She
yeah,
was in
we'll go through
Sister
that.
Act 2. She wanted it. But I think when she got it, she was like, "Oh shit, maybe I don't want this no more. Or maybe I don't want it this way."
Yeah.
And that caused a certain reaction. But don't get it twisted. For the last couple of years of the 90s, like, Lauryn Hill was as big as anybody there was.
Yeah.
And she also, and maybe I'm getting further along than probably need to at this point, but in terms of, like, every rapper that comes out now is like a tries to be like a triple threat, right? Like, I'm thinking about Drake, because Drake came in through acting, he raps and he sings. Um, Lauren did all of that much better.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but Lauren was one of the first artists to come out, other than like Latifah, that was a really good rapper, a really great singer, and like also did all the other multimedia stuff. Like, she could have been a model, she was an actress, she could have done all of these different things and done them really well. Like, to me, she's a prototype for like a Donald Glover type of person.
Mhm. Yeah, she could have totally gone a different commercial route if she had wanted to, but that just didn't seem to be who she was.
Right, right.
Alright, 1998. Go through a few things that happened in '98.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. That year has no real significance for me, so I'm curious what happened in 1998.
The 40th Grammys, February 25th, hosted by none other than Kelsey Grammer? I don't remember this.
I didn't have a TV, so I did not watch that show.
I may have to fact check my fact checking there, we'll
Might have to
see.
go to Internet Archive and see if we can pull that show out.
Bob Dylan, Alison Krauss, and R. Kelly all win 3 awards each, with Dylan winning Album of the Year for Time Out of Mind. Sean Colvin's Sonny Came Home wins both record and song, and Paula Cole wins Best New Artist. There's your
That is
1998.
such an unseasoned list.
Yes, R. Kelly stands out, but then it's also not in a great way.
Yeah.
All right, April 6th, organizers announced that Lollapalooza, which I think had been going on for like 7 years in a row, will not happen in '98 due to the inability to sign a major headlining act, and it would
Hmm,
be kind of dark for about 6 years before they brought it back.
right. Well, it came back. I think it came back as just like a Chicago thing, whereas previously it was traveling around the country.
April 14th, 1998, the very first VH1 Divas Live concert starring Aretha Franklin, Gloria Estefan, Celine Dion, Shania Twain, and one Mariah Carey.
That's a list.
That's a crazy list.
Yeah.
Aretha and Mariah, man, in the same room at
True.
the same time. How does that even happen?
Mariah talks about it in her book. I
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna do an episode on
Oh
Mariah
yeah.
at
Oh
some
yeah.
point, but
I read the book, but when we do the Mariah thing, I'm gonna go back and get the audio book so I can listen to it again.
right on.
But talk about two like
Legends.
giant personalities who like things their way, let's just say. By the way, this is an aside, and we're not going to do an Aretha episode because she's a little bit before us.
Mhm.
Did you see the Jennifer Hudson Aretha movie?
No.
Okay.
I got like 20 minutes in, and I was like, I'm gonna do something else.
It's not fantastic.
Right.
Jennifer tries her ass off, by the way, in this movie. But I was trying to figure out like what's the quintessential Aretha story in book form, and I
Mhm.
found it, and I started reading it.
And what book is this that you're reading?
I'll tell you off air if I remember. But I stopped reading that book because I was like, this woman's life, man.
It's crazy, and I think I know what you're talking about. So, Aretha in the '90s put out an autobiography. I think it's called From These Roots, and it was co-written with David Ritz, who is an awesome writer. I've had the good fortune of meeting him a few times. Has written or ghost written biographies for Marvin Gaye, Ray Charles, Lenny Kravitz, so on, just big deal. And Aretha rewrote that book so much and pulled out so much information about her life that a few years later, David Ritz was like, "Fuck this," and he wrote his own
That
biography.
might be it. That might be the one.
Yeah, and it just reveals and Aretha was very not happy with it and spoke out against it, but I don't know that she spoke out against it for any reason other than there was just personal stuff in there that was true, but she didn't want in the public
That
in the
might be
public
what the
forum.
movie is based on, by the way, which is
Okay,
that book that you're talking about.
okay,
And anyways, part of the reason for me to go see that movie in the theaters is just to hear the music,
right.
right? Like that's part of the reason why I see these music biopics, which I know are not great, like the Freddie Mercury one,
Oh, Bohemian Rhapsody?
Bohemian Rhapsody. I did not like that movie,
Didn't
but
see it.
I get to hear Queen songs in a theater, which is kind of cool.
Right.
Okay, so
Also, while we're talking about Aretha, just real quick, I was going through Reels the other day, and
mhm,
there's this guy on Instagram that pulls out like the lyrics from songs in the '80s that we all
mhm,
sung as kids that
sure.
we thought were innocent that reveal what the lyrics really were in like
Uh-huh.
a modern light. And he did Freeway of Love, which
Okay.
was like Aretha's big hit in the '80s.
Yep.
And all these years, for 40 years, I'm like, she's singing about a car.
Yep.
Aretha was not singing about a car.
What what was
That
she singing about?
uh, we're gonna ride on the freeway of love in a pink Cadillac. That pink Cadillac was not a car.
Oh, man, don't tell me Who's Zooming Who had some sexual undertones to it that I
Probably
don't know
people were
about.
doing some wild shit in the '80s. Man, the metaphor is crazy.
Oh my god, so now you're gonna tell me that pink cookies in a plastic bag getting crushed by a building is about something different too.
I think LL will tell you straight up what that's about.
Okay, May 31st, 1998.
My birthday.
There you go. You turned 22 on the same day that Jerry Halliwell goes into hiding as her public relations representative, Julian Torton, confirms that she has left the Spice Girls.
Oh my god. Gosh.
What does a Jerry Halliwell do without the Spice Girls?
She apparently has been really big in the UK. I was
Just as
never
a
a
like a celebrity?
Nah, she made records. She
Oh,
had
wow.
hits. She had hits. I was not really a Spice Girls fan,
I like Mel
so
B a lot.
okay. Yeah, I can't really speak to what she was doing musically, but she stayed popular.
Yeah, I was a big Scary Spice fan.
Okay. I mean, Mel B was a very attractive and talented woman. It still
Yeah,
is.
and she even dated Eddie Murphy for, like,
She
a
has a
short
kid
time.
by Eddie. Yeah.
Oh, no way, I didn't know
Yep.
that part.
Yep.
So that's part of Eddie's, like, 14 kids?
Yep. Part of
Wow. The
Eddie's
Murphy clan, man.
spawn.
Yeah. Okay, September 28th. 1998. Britney Spears' debut single, Baby One More Time, is released. It would become the top-selling
Wow.
single of 1999, selling over 10
Wow.
million units. It was also the biggest hit single of 1999. The Baby One More Time music video was ranked as number 3 on Billboard's 2010 list of best music videos of all time. So how often did you have to play this song, or did you not play it at all?
Not very, because our store was in the hood.
That's true.
So, we didn't do a whole lot with Britney Spears. I will say that, and we're gonna talk about boy bands and all that stuff later. When NSYNC got super popular, they had the stamp. So we played a lot of NSYNC, but other than
Yeah, because
MTV
they had
used to
2
make
guys who could sing, that's why.
sing, right. MTV used to make these compilations called Club MTV Party to Go. And there were like 15 volumes of those. And then actually, probably around the same time, 98, 99. Now That's What I Call Music, all those albums came out. So we would play those records just because it was a way to, like, there'd be like 5 or 6 different styles of music on one album, and they were all like the current popular hits and stuff. So it was just easy to play. And I'm sure 1 or 2 of those records had Baby One More Time on it.
And then to wrap this up, December 5th, 1998, Billboard changes its policy for its Hot 100 chart to allow airplay-only singles or album cuts to be accounted in the chart.
Right.
This is right up your alley. This is the catnip for you,
I mean,
Billboard stuff.
there are a lot of songs in the 90s that were super popular that did not chart on the Billboard Hot 100 because they weren't released as singles.
Killing Me
Um,
Softly, right? Was Killing
I
Me
Killing
Softly
Me
was
Softly, Don't Speak by No Doubt, um, Are You That Somebody by Aaliyah,
What is
uh,
the strategy for that, by the way? If you know a
because
song is blowing up, but you don't release it on single, is it just because the people have to buy the album?
it's because they want you to spend 14.99 on the album.
Interesting.
Like, they'd rather, because if you're on a single, cassette singles were maybe 2.99.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get a cassette single for 99 cents. Sometimes you get a cassette single for 49 cents. Nobody is making any money off of that cassette single. And often, here's some record industry secret stuff. Uh, Cassette singles and CD singles were often given to record stores for free. So the artist made,
More promotional things than
yeah, they
anything
were
else.
they were promotional. They were enticing people to buy albums. It was creating awareness. So nobody was making any money on singles. Therefore, I guess at some point labels were like, okay, the business is healthy. People are buying stuff. Why are we giving it away? Only
Interesting.
then turn around and give it away.
Right. Okay, let's get into Lauren here. So, as you mentioned, Lauren was a little bit of like a child prodigy.
Hmm.
Lauren Noel Hill, the Noel middle name, not so sure about that. That fits her. Like I expect like a little bit more of like a forceful middle name
Mm.
because of who she is. Like, I don't know. Something that like is like a Pam, like Lauren Pam Hill.
Oh,
Like that just hits. Like because she she's out there sticking up for herself. She's calling people out. That sounds like a Pam more
all
than
right.
Noel. Okay. She was born on May 26th, 1975 in East Orange, New Jersey, and grew up in a nearby town of South Orange. So her parents, Valerie, school teacher, and Mal Hill, a computer consultant systems analyst. So no family music background there for her. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But she did obviously grew up around music. Marvin Gaye, Aretha, Stevie, Gladys Knight were big in her house, supposedly. And she was a really good student, also excelled in athletics. Um, she was a cheerleader, took violin. So this woman is really well-rounded, sang in the high school gospel. So, she was like, sometimes you think of athletes. I do a lot of sports stuff, and as you're raising kids in today's day and age, they want to silo the child. It's like, oh, well, they're going to play baseball and they're going to play on these club teams and they're all year round. And I would go, well, they also like to play basketball. Like, why do they got to play baseball all year round? And so then, they do that with sports today. But Lauren was just kind of doing a little bit of everything. Great student, great athlete. choir, just a bunch of other things, which makes a lot of sense because of how well-rounded she became as a performer and as an artist. And then also we'll get to her acting career, but that was kind of her first break was actually in acting.
In acting, yeah, and I think her upbringing really speaks to what Black folks designed as, like, the middle class dream for themselves. Like, Lauren's parents, if she was born in 1975, they were probably born in the early '50s
Mhm.
and went through the civil rights movement as teenagers and all that kind of stuff, and, the whole idea of Black cultural ascendancy was really important. Like, there was a dream to, like, move on up like the Jeffersons, right? So here you have a very middle class family, and what does a middle class family want to do with their child? They want to put their child in as many activities as possible, make them
Mm.
culturally well rounded. So it doesn't really surprise me that they were like, let's put this girl in sports, let's put her in music, let's make her a cheerleader, let's, let her find out what her interest is by making her as well rounded as possible.
So before she even gets into music, her first gig is an off-Broadway show. It's a hip hop production of Shakespeare's 12th Night called Club 12. She also, in that same year, landed a recurring role on As the World
As the world
Turns.
turns.
Why can't I say turns? As the World Turns, playing the troubled teenager Kira Johnson. Do you ever see any of her soap stuff?
I am not a soap opera cat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've seen clips. The one that people remember most, though, Sister Act 2 with Whoopi Goldberg. She plays Rita Louise Watson. The she sings on in the movie. Very memorable moment of her getting up to sing. She was also in the 1993 movie King of the Hill, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and I was like, I don't even know that this exists. And I looked it up, and yep, she's in this
She's there.
movie.
Yeah, I mean, she was also there. So speaking about people who unfortunately passed away this year, after Cosby, Malcolm Jamal Warner had his own show called Here and Now, where he played like a counselor or something like that. It didn't last very long. But there's an episode of that show in which Lauren is a guest star.
Oh, no
And
way. So what
yeah,
year
and
would
it's
this have been?
93,
Okay, so right around the
maybe.
same time.
Yeah. You can find that on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, she was all over the place. I looked to confirm something and to bring another one of my favorites into the room. Lauryn Hill and Zach Braff were actually childhood friends, and they went to
No
high
way.
school together. Yep.
Wow.
So Zach Braff, writer, actor of Scrubs, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, coming back next year. So I'm super psyched about that. But they grew up in New Jersey together, went to school together, and had a friendly relationship back in the day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He was never on a Fugees album, though.
And she was never on an episode of Scrubs, so it all works out.
All right, so now we're getting to the Fugees here. Well, who were not the Fugees originally. So while she's still in high school, they form what is eventually going to become the Fugees, but is not yet. It is the Translator Crew,
Correct.
TRANZ, Translator Crew. And the idea was that they would rhyme in different languages, not only in English. So that was kind of the gimmick. She meets Pras, and then Wyclef joins after they kind of get the thing going. So imagine that though, like Lauren's like, Pras, you're the one that I'm gonna team up with here in the music. Like, what was like? Maybe Pras was doing some other stuff because
I don't know.
his role in the Fugees was kind of like just to look handsome, I think.
Yeah, man. I don't know, how that meeting happened or what the purpose of that meeting was. I mean, Translator Crew, I think if you yeah, I'm looking on like oh no, it on their first album, it was Fugees slash Translator Crew. On the score, it's Fugees slash Refugee Camp. Um, but Translator Crew even made it it made it into their career as like actual signed recording artists.
Interesting.
So,
Well,
yeah,
and there is a delay in which Blunted on Reality comes out. Like,
right,
they record it, and it doesn't come out until, like, 2 years later for whatever reason.
right.
So, she goes to Columbia University, studying history, but she really only stayed there for a year because the Fugees take off. Um, in 1994, Blunted on Reality comes out. She is the lead female vocalist, one of the main songwriters, um, and this album is so different from what we eventually get from the score, just from, like, a quality perspective. It's almost I know these albums, they come out about 2 years apart, but it makes a little bit more sense in knowing the delay in Blended on Reality, because it does sound like they're, like, 5 years apart from a musicality perspective.
I mean, Blended on Reality came out around a time when there was like Diggable Planets and Arrested Development and PM Dawn, and there was this very kind of alternative hip hop thing happening. So it was a marketing strategy to be weird, to be a little different, maybe
Mhm,
have like live instrumentation in your music, just be a little different. So I think the original premise of like getting over with that first album was like, oh, we're gonna fall into this Arrested Development camp and just be like kind of the weirdos of hip hop. Whereas the score is much more in line with what was happening in
mhm,
commercial hip hop at that point. Like there's the whole sort of like mafioso thing,
mhm.
the Godfather style lettering, all that stuff. Like it was just, you know, Blended on Reality felt like people trying to just get like their creativity out. The score felt much more commercial minded, like they were trying to like figure out a way to have a hit.
So Blended on Reality does not sell
No,
when it comes out.
it does not.
They have blamed, uh, the label and outside producers for having too much control of the sound and the direction. Lauren's, like, 16 while they're recording the majority of this album, by the way, so that just tells you how young she is. And so by the time Blend on Reality comes out, you're like, "Okay, next," and they're just kind of forgotten. And you know what's interesting is I think I would say most people went listened to Blended on Reality after the score came
Score.
back.
Yeah, I mean, I've never listened to that album in full. I mean, in New York anyway, or in the East Coast, there was a song from that album called Nappy Heads that got
Yes.
remixed,
Yes.
and that became in New York a radio hit. So you turn on Hot 97 and you hear the Nappy Heads remix, but that wasn't on the album. It was a different version of Nappy Heads on the album. So even the few people who bought Blended on Reality looking for the one hit single were like super disappointed. So we
I
had
I
to go back to the lab a little bit.
I had 2 people who were big time into the Fugees and Lauren, mostly Lauren, during this time frame. So my buddy Albert and my friend Aubrey, who I went to school with, they were in on Blunted on Reality, but it was because of the Nappy Heads remix
Right.
that where you kind of saw like, okay, like there's something here, like what they like it sounds so much different from the rest of the album, by the way, this remix. And you're like, "Okay, this is the bridge to the score,"
Yeah.
but nothing else on Blended on Reality sounds even really close to what they were eventually gonna do on the score.
Yeah.
So for the second album, um, they took according to this internet researcher, they took complete creative control and they set up their own studio, which may have been just based off of the kind of the prepayment for the second album, called the Booga Basement. So, um, Wyclef says that what the score really means as a title for their second album is settling the score for those who slept on the Fugees. That's what he said that the album title really means. Um, the group was nearly dropped by Rough House after the first album, but were given a chance thanks to the Nappy Head remix, and they used that leverage to try and get a little bit more of the artistic control of that second album. So the Booga Basement was built in Wyclef's uncle's basement in South Orange, New Jersey. That's the studio in Wyclef's uncle's basement. So who worked on this album? Wyclef, Lauryn, and Pras, of course, but also Wyclef's cousin, Jerry Wunda.
Jerry Wonder.
And then also they used Salam Remy, who remixed the Nappy Heads,
Right.
and Diamond D, who kind of helped them shape the album. And then really it's Lauryn's ascent here. When you hear Killing Me Softly, you like, if you knew nothing about the Fugees, right? Like if you didn't know the background of the album, the artist, and you just heard this song for the first time, it's like a Lauryn Hill solo track.
Yeah. Yeah. It essentially is. And the narrative around the Fugees from day one was like, yo, let her go solo, drop those other two dudes, and make your own records. From like jump, every piece of press, album reviews, all that stuff was always like, here's the star.
Mhm.
And obviously that caused quite a bit of friction, I think. Um, but "Killing Me Softly" was the song that really blew that album up, and you know, the contribution from Wyclef and or Pras, aside from like one time, is like minimal. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, essentially, is a Lauryn Hill solo record.
Now here's an interesting thing. Obviously, because that wasn't a single, that song helped sell that record a lot.
Hmm.
But at the same time, while it made the score uber successful, at the exact same time, it's pulling Lauryn away, because it's like, this is really what the thing is, not this other thing that you guys think it is. And we'll get into kind of the breakup and why the breakup happened, which is mostly because Lauryn and Wyclef are romantically involved, and not on the up and up, by the way. But like, if you have a Star is Born, right? The idea of A Star is Born, like, she's ready to get launched into into space,
Yeah,
and she kind of leaves these two guys behind. And also, it's also interesting. Now, I don't know the time frame in which it was recorded, but Wyclef actually releases a solo album first.
right,
There's
right.
there's hubris in that.
You know, that's a really interesting thing, and the one thing I can compare it to is when Destiny's Child decided to make their solo records. The first album that came out was Kelly's album. Um, so uh, I think when groups split up, it's not uncommon for, and there's like a 1 and 1A type relationship. I
So
think
maybe
it's
you
not.
need to get the jump, because if you don't get the jump, you're gonna get swallowed
Yeah,
by the time
yeah,
Lauren comes out.
yeah.
You know what?
Um,
What also makes so much sense, and we'll talk about this when we do. Well, I think we are gonna do an NSYNC album, but the Justin and
JC.
yeah, like, that phenomenon is fascinating to look back on,
Yeah,
because to me, there's some people who just like Justin because he was more polished. He came up through the Mickey Mouse Club stuff and all that stuff. So he's
well,
just more.
so did JC.
Okay, well, he was for whatever reason, he was kind of a little bit more famous
Yeah,
while the group was happening. And like, JC takes this odd turn for his first album, and he never catches up because of it.
yeah, yeah,
It's an incredible thing to think about, because
yeah.
I always liked him better than Justin, but if I was to guess, I would say, "Oh, yeah, Justin, of course Justin's gonna be more successful. He just has that it thing a little bit more."
Right. He has the it thing, but I think in terms of from like a talent standpoint, not to say I love Justin Timberlake, he's quite talented, but in terms of who is a better technical singer, I would give JC that title.
Okay, so the score just blows up. It's 7x platinum in the US, so has sold an estimated 22 million copies worldwide.
Right.
And just the praise of the critical praise. Um, when you talk about charts, it was number one in Billboard 200, number one in the top R&B and hip hop. Fuji Law, which was the first
First
single,
single. Hmm.
Was 29th on the Billboard Hot 100. Killing Me Softly was not released, so it doesn't actually chart. And then uh, Ready or Not also is does not chart because it is not released, but it is a big hit. And then I guess No Woman No Cry, which is an extended cut, or is that on the actual album too?
It's on the album.
Okay, that also was successful in the UK, number 2 in the UK. So the 1997 Grammys, it is nominated for Album of the Year, only the second rap album ever to be nominated for Album of the Year. This is 1998, by the way,
Mhm.
and it lost to just the force that was Celine Dion in 1996. It won Best Rap Album and won Best R&B Performance by Duo or Group for Killing Me Softly. Okay, so now, you know, everything's on the up and up for the Fugees, and then it really isn't because they are soon to break up. Now, what was the Dave Chappelle Block Party movie?
Mhm.
Was that when he got them back together for a song or
Mhm.
something?
He got them back, they did a performance, and then they got back in the studio, tried to make a 3rd album, and they released 1 single called "Take It Easy,"
Yes,
and
I remember that song.
then I think just internally, they couldn't get it together for a whole album.
Yeah, interesting because at that time, had they been able to for that 3rd album, it would have been giant.
Yeah, I mean, a Fugees
I don't
comeback
know if it was
album
gonna
would
be
have
good, but it would have been giant, at
yeah,
least immediately.
yeah.
Huh. Okay, so why does the group break up? Well, personal betrayal seems to be the number one, which is interesting because of the dynamics of this relationship. Now, Wyclef is 6 years older than Lauren. He was married. Lauren, like I mentioned, when the Fugees started to become a thing, she was only 16, so she was like a sophomore or junior in high school. They soon become romantically involved while Wyclef has a wife, and I'm sure I'm basing this off of like 20-year-old, over 20-year-old Vibe magazine like stories, right? But from what I remember is from Lauren's side, it was always that Wyclef was going to get divorced and that they were like that's what he was feeding her to kind of keep her around as the mistress. And then after the score comes out, Lauren gets pregnant. According to Wyclef, Lauren told him it was his child until the very end when it was Rohan Marley's child. And so Wyclef, who had Lauren on the side, is mad because she was hooking up with Rohan Marley and was going to have a kid with Rohan Marley.
Typical dude
That
shit.
is a crazy power dynamic thing there going on.
Typical dude shit. That is so messy.
Like, I mean, like publicly, if this happened today, Wyclef would be canceled.
I mean, I don't even know about that because, there's different rules in hip hop, but, it's just messy. It's like you can't control I mean, A, no one has the right to control anybody. But if you are in a relationship and you are messing with a side piece and that side piece decides to mess with somebody else, then you have no say in this matter at all because she's a free agent.
Right.
Like you're the one with the ring around your finger.
The other thing where I feel like Wyclef is not looked upon is that he said one of the main reasons why the score was good was because of the passionate undertone and love triangle. There was passion in this album because Lauren was his mistress and like I, I don't know, man.
That just makes me feel gross.
I don't know.
There is a really interesting story in one of Questlove's books about how the Fugees used to open for the Roots,
Uh-huh.
and the Roots
Until when?
this is I mean, until the score came out, I think,
Right.
and then things flipped.
Yeah.
But one thing that Questlove says in the book is that him and Black Thought and the band used to do like covers of old hip hop songs, or like, or do covers of R&B songs with like hip hop beats or that kind of
Mhm.
thing. And what he intimates in the book is that the Fugees basically took that,
Mhm.
recorded the score, and the biggest song from the score is what? A remake of Killing Me Softly over
Mhm.
the Tribe Called Quest Benita Applebum beat.
Mhm.
So they, in a way, and maybe I'm just reading a lot into it, Questlove is like, yo, Lauren and Wyclef stole this thing that we did, and then they turned it into their thing, and it was a million times more successful.
They needed to bring in, Jaguar Wright or somebody before and do it themselves, right? I mean, they tried.
Right.
Eventually, they did start making more commercial stuff like
So
that,
right.
but
And,
that's really interesting.
there's also the sense that, like, Fuji's got popular on other people's music, essentially.
Right.
Like, I was listening to the score earlier today, and there's a line in the song Zealots called that says, "Kill the notion of biting and recycling and calling it your own creation," which is essentially what the Fugees do throughout this entire damn album. Like, "Killing Me
It
Softly" and "No Woman No Cry" are straight up covers. Like, there's not even like them rapping different verses. They're just straight up remakes.
well, and then the excuse or the reason for the song to happen is they try and create hip hop ballads versus like we're not covering it the same because we're putting like hip hop beats underneath the music. Like that's their excuse, right?
I mean, sure. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it the originality, they're not as original as they say they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a lot of, I would say the reasons the score got as popular as it did is one, Lauryn Hill just being a force of nature, and being charismatic and talented and all that stuff. And two, the familiarity of the songs, right? It's very much like, why did You Can't Touch This blow up? Because of Super Freak. Why did,
Ice Ice Baby.
right, Ice Ice Baby blow up? Why did so many of the Bad Boy records blow up? It's because you're already familiar with the record. Well, Killing Me Softly, they got their audience grew because there was already a generation of people that were familiar with this song. Young people were familiar with this song. So to hear it rendered in a style that was more in line with what, we as young people were listening to, that just kind of magnified it. So, you know, I mean, not hating, but just saying that a lot of their blowing up commercially was kind of based on familiarity of other people's material.
I always call it like the always on my mind aha moment. Cause I remember when Willie Nelson did that song, it shocked me that Elvis had done it like,
Hmm.
I don't know, 10 years prior.
Sure.
And then when you learn that, okay, he didn't even, like, do it originally,
Right.
right? Like and so I always think about it from that because I remember being, like, a little kid and going, like, "Always on my mind. What? Elvis did this song? Like, how? Like, why?" Like, and that whole idea, so okay, the, um the son that, Lauryn Hill gives birth to, Zion David, born in 1997. Um, it's funny when, this is much later, Zion Williamson, when he was drafted by
Mm.
the Pelicans, first pick overall, I played a joke on Twitter, and I was like, "Lauryn Hill's baby boy finally." No, the timing was probably close, but not exactly, but I tried to get that one going. I don't know if anyone bought it, but I played the Zion song over some, Zion Williamson highlights at some point to try and
Oh
trick some
God.
folks. Um, so the other thing that, Wyclef is, taking a little bit of a hit on this one, I think deservedly so. So he said, "In the moment of the betrayal of finding out that the father was actually Rohan Marley," and he writes about this in his biography, his autobiography. He stated, "In that moment, something died between us. I was married and Lauren and I were having an affair, but she led me to believe that the baby was mine, and I couldn't forgive that." Come on, dude.
My brother.
So who like doesn't Wyclef have any like people he goes to advice for? And then he says, Lauren could no longer be his muse, and their love spell was broken. And that is basically why he says like that he couldn't really get into doing another album. Like that is wild.
I don't buy that.
It's wild. Okay. Uh the less said about Pras the better, because he's like, come on, guys, like, can you guys at least get back so we could do this? Because he doesn't, I mean, he has Ghetto Superstar, which I mean, I don't even remember why he was actually chosen for that song.
I mean, Ghetto Superstar was a hit, but who do you remember the most on that record?
ODB.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you had a hit, but did you really? Was it your hit? Was that your record?
The Bullworth soundtrack, baby.
Damn.
Okay. So the group breaks up and they start going solo. Wyclef releases The Carnival in 97, like we said, beats Lauren to the punch. Does Ghetto Superstar come out before Miseducation?
Yeah, Ghetto Superstar, I think, was early '98.
Okay. So
Yeah.
even Pras beats Lauren to the solo album release. So Lauren says that at some point in 1998, I don't think that everybody was necessarily that happy that I decided to do a solo project, which how can I mean, I'm sure she feels that way. The pressure of what she was doing is really a lot of in Miseducation. But if these two dudes were already doing solo projects, it just seems natural that she would be next, right?
Yeah, I think I mean, look, the writing was always on the wall that she was going to do her own thing at some point. And there's even, in the midst of Wyclef putting out his record, there's also a song on the Love Jones soundtrack called The Sweetest Thing, which is
Mhm.
like the refugee camp presents Lauryn Hill. So she's definitely making moves. Um, so I don't know. I everybody assumed that she was going to go solo at some point.
At what point does "Can't Take My Eyes Off You" come out? Because I know it's for the
Yeah, the
conspiracy
movie Conspiracy
theory.
Theory. Yeah,
Is because it's on as, like, a hidden track
yeah.
at the end of Miseducation. You gotta kinda wait a couple of minutes, on the last track, and then you'll hear that. But that was also another thing of what you're saying is she's covering, like, an old song with a hip hop and R&B spin to it.
Right.
But that had to be kind of in the mix before the solo album was dropping, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, the movie I'm looking now, the movie came out in 1997. Um,
And I think I don't remember if the song is in the movie itself, but again, I'm
yeah, I
looking
mean, I've never seen the movie. It's either in the movie itself or it is like in the end credits or something like that.
so what I was gonna say is I was working at Blockbuster, and we would play that movie, just the credits, so that we could hear that
Hear this
song.
song? That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, because it's like it was kind of like a hidden thing. It's like, "Oh, you're not," how come nobody knows about this song kinda thing.
Right.
Alright, so now the album, her recording Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, obviously, lot of Wyclef stuff in this album. I mean, Lost Ones,
X
X
Factor.
Factor, um, like, I wonder if, Wyclef was saying she couldn't be his muse, like, he was clearly, like, on her mind in the creation of this album on a lot of these songs, but there's also other stuff about record labels and, just kind
Yeah,
of the industry and unfairness and different stuff, but he's clearly like she circled a bunch of things and she put the bullseye on this dude when she was making this album.
which I don't know if anybody really knew what was going down during that time. It was like, okay, well, she's pissed off at somebody, and it's a very like autobiographical record, so she's clearly speaking from things that happened in her life. I don't recall being aware of exactly who she was talking to
Mhm.
or talking about. But obviously in retrospect, you realize that so many of these songs are about her relationship with Wyclef, and there's probably some songs in there about her relationship with Rohan Marley as
Mhm.
well, who, by the way, was also married.
Yeah. She had a type, man.
Clearly.
Um, the one of the songs on this album featuring Carlos Santana is about her son, Zion. And the song is about how she was pressured to have an abortion, that having a child at the kind of the beginning of this bubbling career would derail possible superstardom, which is an interesting thing to think about in hindsight because the superstardom aspect for her, it happened, but it was so limited. And I don't think that it was because of the child, it was because of other things going on in
Yeah.
her life. But if that was the fear, it's almost like, it actually happened, but maybe for a different reason. But the superstardom aspect for Lauren, was only for a short time.
Yeah, I'm sure that somebody, whether it be somebody at the label, somebody in her family, somebody in her management team, whatever, was kind of like, look, do you think now is the right time to have a baby because your star is on the ascent, like you're starting to blow up? It's not going to kill your career, but your priorities are going to shift. Uh, so it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I know how the music business works. I guarantee that somebody somewhere said that. Um, which I think they would say to any, unfortunately, say to any female celebrity who's kind of on the rise and is essentially going to have to take a break in her career to have a child. Um, so at the end of the day, obviously that's your decision. You're going to do what you want to do, and she went where her heart took her, and it had no negative bearing on her career at all.
The other part of this is, and this is where we're doing a show based on albums of our youth. 1998 is a little bit different from the perspective of she's unmarried. She's had now 2 affairs with married dudes,
Well, nobody
and
knew that then.
well, no, but if she does become Michael Jackson, people are writing that story and
Right.
blowing that story up. So I'm
Right.
sure that was also part of the fear. And do we take a chance with her knowing that there's some skeletons? But at the same time, those skeletons are very like unfair from a gender perspective because
Sure.
the history of rock and roll has these dudes,
Just
sleeping
fucking
around and
everything.
having kids, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't affect them in any way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's misogyny at its finest. Um, but unfortunately, in situations like that, men and women are often looked at differently.
How do you classify this album? Is it R&B? Is it hip hop? Is it that term that I'm still not sure I like, neo soul?
Neo soul is so whack. That's such like a weird marketing term. It splits it, right? It is, to me, it is more of an R&B album because Lauren actually does not rap a whole lot on the record. She raps on like 3 songs, 4 songs, something like that. Um, it is a hip hop informed R&B album. Like it's just so, I mean, and I don't even know if we have to classify it.
Smoothed
It's
out on the R&B
You're
tip with
right.
a pop feel appeal?
It's so, I mean, they weren't wrong.
Yeah.
It's soul music.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does this album come together? She's recording it from around September of 97 to June of 98. There's a group of collaborators called the New Arc Team, and they're a group of relatively unknown musicians who help her with her vision. Um, they they helped her a lot in sort of putting the thing together and coming up with arrangements and instruments. And the reason why the new ARC team is very important to this album is because Lauren, according to them, did not credit them enough on the album, and they actually sue her, and they settle the case a few years later. um Lauren's, if you look at the album credits, it's kind of like the Lauryn Hill show, and they were like, we did a little bit more than this, and in some cases maybe more than she did, which was the argument, which I don't know how to
Yeah,
verify that in any
well,
way.
I don't buy that. That Miseducation of Lauryn Hill sounds like a Lauryn Hill record. Like it
Hmm.
sounds like a record that Lauryn Hill would make. And obviously nobody knows the entire truth of what happened except the people that were in the studio making the music. Um, I'm looking at my copy, and on the back cover it does say written, produced, and arranged by Lauryn Hill, with like
Hmm.
a few exceptions of other people who gave input. But I don't know. Again, like if you're not in the room, you can't really say who did what. I don't know that anybody from that team has really like blown up in their own way bigger than Lauryn Hill did. And when I do feel like the person who contributes the most ends up benefiting the most from it. So it's still like a Lauryn Hill record.
Yeah. They, what did they settle for?
Five
I don't
million, if I remember
5,000,000.
correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. So John Legend makes his commercial debut on this album.
Yes, indeed.
He
Everything is
plays
everything.
he plays the piano on Everything Is Everything.
Yeah.
You mentioned D'Angelo on this song. Did you hear this as a tribute to Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell?
No, not really. Um, there are songs on that album that sound more directly like other songs,
Mhm.
but to me, that song "Nothing Even Matters" is just like it's a slow jam.
Yeah.
It's the it's the Quiet Storm record off that album.
As I mentioned, Carlos Santana on, To Zion.
And I don't know if Lauren gets enough credit for the same way like Run DMC is responsible for Aerosmith's comeback.
Mhm.
Lauren Hill is responsible for Santana's comeback because next year Supernatural comes out and it's like the biggest album in the world.
Yep.
And I think To Zion is kind of what set what provided like the runway.
Do you know who put them together?
No, I think she reached out to Carlos
That's
Santana just having been a fan.
It's flipping genius.
Right. Right. Yeah, man.
Okay. Universal critical acclaim. I'm not sure there was a much more beloved album critically uh, at that point.
Yeah.
Like it was like I don't remember seeing I'm sure there were negative reviews, but I don't remember seeing a negative review about this thing.
Across the board, it was hip hop critics, R&B critics, rock critics, young people, old people. It was just one of those universal records that had like appeal to every audience possible.
In 2020, Rolling Stone ranked it number 10 on their 500 greatest albums of all time list. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Uh, First week, it did 422,000 copies, broke the record for the highest first week sale by a female artist at the time. It topped the chart. That's where I got chopped from, by the way. Topped the chart for 4 weeks at number 1. She was the first female rapper to achieve diamond status, 10 million records or more
I
sold.
think she is to this day the only female rapper to achieve diamond status on an album.
Trump loving Nicki Minaj not doing 10. No,
Nah.
bummer for Nicki.
Yeah.
Um, and then worldwide, it's done over 20 million copies. So the singles, Doo Wop, That Thing, becomes Hill's first and only solo number 1 single on the Hot 100. X Factor gets to 21, Everything Is Everything gets to 35, and The Lost Ones gets to 27. Um, but I think that may be mostly off of airplay. Was it? Do you remember if
It was
Lost Ones
Lost
was
Ones was
released as a
never
single?
out as a single.
Okay, yeah. So that's based on airplay.
Yeah.
All right, and then the 1999 Grammys. 10 nominations. The first woman in Grammys history to receive 10 nominations in a single year. She gets 5 wins: Album of the Year, Best New Artist, Best R&B, Best R&B Song for Doo-Wop, Best R&B Vocal Performance for Doo-Wop. Also nominated for Record and Song, but does not win those. So this thing is just crushing.
Yeah. First
And
hip hop record to win album of the year. Only 2 hip hop albums in history have won the album of the year Grammy.
wait, what's the other one?
Speaker Box Love Below.
Oh, that's right. Which is only a couple years later, right?
Yeah, 2003.
Yeah. So at this point in the Lauryn Hill history, you're thinking like sky is the limit. Like we have like a hip hop Whitney Houston here,
Nonstop green lights. Just
right?
green light straight down.
And then it just doesn't happen. And I would really like the hard part about Lauren is because of things that have happened in her life, she's become really private, and she doesn't really do much do any interviews. You know, if she does, she seems irritated. So you don't really know the story, but I would, one day I would love to hear a version of what happened. Like I'm sure there was some mental illness stuff going on, that we've heard about. There was a tax thing that had happened where she
Right,
just didn't pay her taxes, and I remember she wrote like this thing about why she didn't do it. Like, she gave her reasons and was just like, this is why I didn't do it, and then she had to spend a few months in jail herself.
right.
um the Yeah, just the idea that this person who was kind of like about to become the biggest star in music, and was at that point, or it was going to launch in a different stratosphere, it just didn't happen. It's like one of those what ifs in music history.
I don't know if you watched the Sly Stone documentary from earlier this year.
I have not. That was a
It's
Questlove one, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the subtitle of it is The Burden of Black Genius.
Hmm.
And you look throughout history, particularly in the last like 30 to 35 years, there are these artists um in hip hop, mostly R&B, that blow up and then just vanish. Like you look at D'Angelo and how long it took between each of his 3 albums. You look at Lauryn Hill, you look at Maxwell and how long he takes to make records. You look at any Erica Badu, who I think hasn't made an album in like 15 years. Just all of these people who make an album, like blow up, and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute," and then it kind of gets to be a lot, and
A
they
lot of pressure,
retreat.
man.
Yeah, retreat a little bit, and I think some of it is because you know Paul McCartney can make an album, and he's representing Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Lauryn Hill makes an album, and she's representing Black women.
Hmm.
um, which is really unfair. And I think that that's part of it. I think having to face up to the success of Miseducation of Lauryn Hill and replicate it, you can accept that challenge or you can reject that challenge. And I think ultimately she rejected that challenge. I
But yeah,
think it was
which this is a great point, because if your goal when you produce an album, whatever your goal is, some people it's just like, I've been wanting to do this for my whole life. If her goal was, I just want to produce the best album I can, or the best album of the year, or the best album in R&B and hip hop in a long time, yes, yes, and yes, you can only go down from there.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe from a realistic standpoint, she looked at that and she was like, I got too much too fast. Now what do I do?
And here's the interesting part, which is why a Lauryn Hill album today, she would get a lot of flack for it, but I would be so interested because her first album spans about the first 23 years of her life.
Right.
She has lived longer since then. So she's got so much more to say now, and it wouldn't be the giant commercial success. It wouldn't be the album that everybody who loved Miseducation would get. I wanna hear it because I wanna hear what she has to say from the standpoint of 23 to 50.
Yeah,
That's what I want to hear.
yeah, and I think she'd have really important things to say. I mean, she pops up on somebody else's record every now and then. Like, most recently, I think she was on a Nas album. And she's spitting bars. I mean, also, we have not yet uh talked about the fact that Lauryn Hill might be the best female MC of all time. And that's off
I'm
of a
I'm
very small body of work.
I mean, who would you put in there?
I mean, it's Lauren, it's Latifah, MC Light,
MC Light.
um, and then things kind of like fall apart pretty quickly.
What about my girl Moni Love?
I mean, Moni Love is dope, and actually, Moni Love just put out an album about a month ago that's very good. Um, but I think any conversation, there's people now who love Nicki and Cardi, and they would not register with me. I think Nicki is quite talented,
She
but
has talent.
right. But for me, it's like Lauren, Light, and Latifah.
I actually like some of Cardi B's music and some of her songs because they're kind of fun and gives you that like party vibe. But I also wouldn't consider her to be like this tremendous rapper.
Yeah, Cardi B is not an MC's MC.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
but you could
Um,
put Lauren Hill in a cipher with, you know, Nas or Black Thought or somebody else, and you would just get jewels.
well, and we didn't even talk about "If I Ruled the World,"
Right,
which
right.
is a giant song. I remember when it came out, like to see both people at the same level because Nas is like the wonder king of all rappers, right? He's like this guy who is like comes as a very young man and he's like already one of the best guys you've ever heard. And so for Lauren to be on that level on that song, it was incredible. Like you're
Well, it
like,
was also a way to pull Nas into the mainstream, I think, because Nas, if you were a hip hop head, Nas was amazing. But the average person listening to the radio had no idea who or what Nas was.
mhm,
So putting Lauren on the record, who was, this is summer of '96. So Killing Me Softly is everywhere. And having that
yep,
familiar voice on the record helped to blow Nas up.
yep.
So when his second album came out, it turned Nas into a superstar. So, I think Lauren Hill has a little bit can take some credit for commercially bringing Nas to the next level in his career.
I was gonna save this for when we get to our questions, but I'll say it now because of my experience. But have you seen Lauren in live?
I've not. I
Okay,
have had the opportunity on a couple of occasions or been offered the opportunity and been like, I'm
you
not
didn't you
waiting
didn't
for
want to
3
wait
hours to
2
see this
hours
thing.
for her to
I
come on
actually it's
stage?
funny, I was supposed to go to the Dave Chappelle block party,
No way.
and it rained that morning, so I didn't get on the bus.
Damn. Crazy.
Yep.
I've seen her once, maybe twice actually, now that I think of it. I may have seen her twice, but the memorable one is her and Nas at the Billy Graham in San Francisco, I think. But it was more set up like a club, like, there were no seats, like, we were all just standing, and so Nas goes first, and, we're all making the jokes about whether Lauren's even gonna be here like everybody else, right? And, he is just he's the setup man for her.
Right.
And to watch Lauryn Hill in concert, I used the word weird for that unplugged thing, and it was kind of weird too, but it was because she had like background, she had like a choir behind her. And as she was singing and rapping, she was directing the choir as if she was like directing a symphony in some way.
Okay.
And Lauren is I'm gonna guess that Lauren is a little type A. She's very
You imagine
she
that.
she's very
You don't
forceful.
say.
These people were singing their ass off, and she was, like, giving them direction verbally in front of this audience about, "No, we got to do this one again, like, wait until I say go," and then she would and then they had to stop when she wanted it was wild,
Yeah.
but
I've heard similar stories from people who presumably saw shows on that tour.
and so to it comes off a little bit as, like, she must be like a mean person. But at the same time, I also took it as she's a perfectionist and she probably has some anxiety around expectation of what she is supposed to sound like. And in 20, I probably, this concert, I probably saw it in like 2015 or something. But imagine in 2025, she doesn't have the voice that she had in 2023. It's going to be a little raspier, right? It's going to be, um, just she's been on Earth much longer, so she's talked a lot and she's sung a lot more,
Right.
so it's going to be a little bit more strained. And I imagine that as part of it is just there's this anxiety to be the Lauryn Hill of 1998 every time you go out there, and if you're not, people are gonna judge you for it, and it's like, "Hey, at that time, she was probably 40, but now it's like, I'm 50 years old now. Of course, I'm not gonna sound like I did in 1998." And so from that perspective, I also had so much respect for what she did because I was like, she wants this to be the best possible thing, not only for the audience, but for her. Like, it has to live up to her level. And
Right.
then, so the other thing we were worrying about, or not worrying, but we were kind of wondering is like, okay, do they do If I Ruled the World?
Did they?
And they saved it until the very end. And
Of
so
course
they
they.
did it to send off. But I was worried. I was like, oh man, they're not doing it. They're not
Yeah, you
doing it.
got
They're not
to.
doing it. And then they did it at the very end. So it was great to see that part of it. So
Yeah, I mean, I respect the fact that Lauren Hill, like, it's a double-edged sword, right? Lauren Hill clearly has a very high opinion of herself. And I think that benefits you in some ways, and I think that can take away from you in some ways. And it's like, y- you know, there's a certain point when you're getting high off your own supply. And I don't necessarily know that from an integrity standpoint, from a moral standpoint, that that's like the best way to be.
yeah.
But at the same time, like, you want to have a high opinion of yourself. And, you know, I am sure that over the past 35 years, thousands and thousands of people have blown smoke up Lauryn Hill's ass. Um, and I don't think you get through that much yes peopling without like some kind of damage.
Well, and again, let's go back to the gender inequality here. Kobe Bryant called it Mamba mentality. People gave him a pass. Lauren is doing a version of Mamba mentality, and she's getting a little flack for it.
Like, I mean, there's definitely a racialized and gender based swing to how people view this in a lot of cases. Um, I personally have not gone to see Lauren or any of the Fuji shows just because A, I think I'll be a little bit disappointed. Um, and B, I just knowing about the lateness, knowing about the self-righteousness, like all that stuff, just I'm like, I don't want to put myself through that.
Well,
Uh,
what you don't want to do is you don't want to ruin your perspective
right,
of the music every
right,
time Miseducation of Lauryn Hill comes on. You don't
right,
want your brain to go to, "Oh my god, she showed up 2 hours late and she cut the set off early because of X, Y." You're like, "I just wanna listen to Miseducation of
right,
Lauryn Hill."
right. Exactly. Keep those memories safe in my head.
All right, here are the questions here. Now, some of these questions that I'm gonna ask Mike are just unanswerable, so we're just kinda, like, thinking
Oh
through
boy,
some stuff.
way to set me up.
Okay. So, the score comes out. Let's go back to 1996. The score comes out, giant hit. Let's say the idea was, "Hey, guys, let's withhold these solo albums. We're gonna get right back into the studio, and we're gonna make the follow-up to the score." Wyclef, Pras, Lauren are like, "We're in, but we're doing our solo stuff after this 3rd album." How does that 3rd album sound to you in your mind? What is happening in music in '97 and '98 that would have changed what they could have done? Because to me, as I sort of thought through this topic, the money move is to focus way more heavily on Lauren, but at the same time, knowing Wyclef, he would probably want to get his own shine, and it would all I don't know that the dynamics would have worked, quite as well.
I don't think there's any world in which a third album came out just because the personal dynamic was so weird already. Um, there's some stuff that indicates what another album would have sounded like. Like they did that one song with Tribe Called Quest and Busta Rhymes for the Ali movie.
We're gonna get to that.
Um, they they did the Love Jones song. Lauren's on like 3 tracks on Carnival.
Yes, Gunpowder, which I really
Yeah,
like.
Gunpowder, Guantanamera. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 other songs. So I think a third Fugees album would have just sounded like the Score 2.0. Like I feel like they would have kind of kept that formula.
But I said Rumble and Jungle. We'll actually get to it in our top 5. So that's a sneak
Okay. Oh,
preview for the
all
top
right.
5 because
All
I'm
right.
throwing that in my top 5.
All right.
Okay, so now we kind of talked about this already, and you mentioned the influences and kind of the why, because Blunted sounds like Blunted does, and the Score sounds like this incredible just difference. When I asked you this, it was the Roots thing, the thing that you were thinking of, like because I'd asked you this a couple weeks ago and said, like, why does
Why the 2
Blunted on
albums sound
Reality
so different?
sound
Yeah.
so different?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
It was as soon as you asked that question, the Questlove story popped into my head.
okay. How many Fugees related albums do you own on vinyl?
2.
Just the ones that right behind you, the
2.
Score
That's it.
and Miseducation.
Yeah.
I think that is my answer as well. I don't think I own the Carnival
I
on
don't think
vinyl.
Carnival is available on vinyl. If it
Okay.
was, I would probably consider buying it.
Yeah.
I rebought it on CD not too long ago, actually.
Okay. Um,
This is a good album.
it's really
Yeah.
good. Okay, this one is not too hard to think about. What is your favorite song on Miseducation of Lauryn Hill?
Oh, that is really hard to
Oh,
think
maybe it
about.
is hard.
Uh, my favorite song is probably Lost Ones, just because I think like
She
that
goes
she came
hard.
out with the Eye of the Tiger and she just drops bars. Like it's crazy. Um, that song just goes super hard and you can feel the passion that she's rapping with.
I'm gonna go with X Factor as my favorite song. I wanted to shout out "Forgive Me, Father" because I was listening to "Forgive Me, Father" the other day, and I found it kind of amazing because this is one of the songs that she actually does rap on.
Mhm.
So, she goes hard on this song, but then she kind of cushions that by singing this angelic chorus. But if you hear what the chorus is about, the chorus is just as hard as the lines that she's rapping. So for instance, I'll just give you a couple of lines here. So one of the lines that she's rapping is and when I let go, my voice echoes through the ghetto, sick of men trying to pull strings
Strings like
like
Geppetto.
Geppetto.
Yeah.
And then the chorus, which she sings again, she sings it like so beautifully. The chorus is like Cain and Abel, Caesar and Brutus, Jesus and Judas, backstabbers do
I
this.
mean, Lost One and Forgive Them Father are probably directed towards the same person or
I'm
people.
gonna guess. I'm gonna
Yes.
guess. But I just found that like there's a sense of like she's going hard, but she's cushioning that with this amazing chorus. But if you listen to the chorus is just as biting and is just as hard. And there's like a brilliance in that. There's a brilliance in putting that thing together the way that she did.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend Jason Green like a week ago, and Jason is a well-known writer, used to be editor at Pitchfork. Just wonderful person, great source of musical knowledge. And we're talking about this album because I knew we were going to record this. And he talks a little bit, or we talked a little bit about every ghetto, every city.
Mhm.
And one thing he had mentioned that I don't know if I even picked up on is that it's basically a rewrite of I Wish by Stevie Wonder.
It sounds very similar for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Um,
well, when that album came out and I heard that song, my original thought was she was listening to Stevie before she
Stevie.
put this
Oh,
thing together.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's great, and it's also probably, part of the reason why I like that song so much, and then the video, which the world is kind of a turntable on the
Right.
video.
Oh, no, that's the "Everything Is Everything"
Oh, no, no,
video.
no, yeah, yeah, you're right, you're right,
Yeah,
you're right, you're right, you're right.
um,
Um, okay,
but yeah.
what is we brought this up recently, the no skips rating, meaning the higher the no skips rating is, the less you skip. And I think that this album has 2 no skips ratings, one with the interludes and one without them.
Imma just take all the interludes off the album.
Uh-huh.
And if we did that, it would be a 9.
I think it's a 9. It's like a 9 or a 10, and there's a couple of songs where, depending on the moment or the day, I may not be feeling it. I don't know if I get all the way through to Tell Him, if I'm playing it just because of the way that they put the hidden tracks in.
Right. Well, the hidden tracks are not on the vinyl either.
Oh, they're not?
No,
Okay.
no. Um, actually, it's funny, the last song, which is the title track, is probably the one track that I skip when I listen
Yeah,
to the
it's
album.
not it's probably the worst song on the
Right.
album, I
I
think.
mean, it's long and it's kind of slow and she's over singing, just kind of like not my jam. But yeah, I mean, that album is pretty close to perfect. Like that's a 9 out of 10. But yeah, the skits or interludes are hard, man. Even listening to it in 1998, I was like, these feel kind of unnecessary. And I get that they're kind of advancing the narrative arc of the album, but now it's just like, oh, these are a little cringe.
I do laugh though when the guy's like, "Tell me a song about love," and then the kid is like brings up some Kurt Franklin
Kirk
song,
Franklin, yeah.
and then he starts singing it, and then the little girls start laughing, like, that stuff is kinda cute, but
It's
yeah,
cute.
there's too many of them. If you
Yeah.
had 1, I think it'd be fine, like, if you lead off the album with it, and then maybe you close the album with it, it's fine, but there's like 6 or 7 of them in there.
Yeah. And I get, we're in the middle of the hip hop skits era.
The
So
mad there's no mad rapper on
there's no
this one.
mad rapper on it. But even like the score has skits all through it, some of which are actually hold up really badly. But you know, rap records, R&B records all have skits at this point. So
Yeah.
it's kind of par for the course.
Okay. Could you turn the Fugees drama and the ascent of Lauryn Hill into a movie?
Hell yeah.
I think so.
I would watch a Fugees documentary or a biopic.
Right.
Maybe not a biopic, documentary.
The bio if the biopics are what they've been, which is the worst one to me was, Tupac's All Eyes on Me. You know what the thing that I hate is when in these biopics is when they, like, redo the music videos. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
"I
just
already know this music video up and back. I don't need to see it in
I just wanna
movie
see a
form."
documentary, and fun fact, All Eyes on Me and The Score came out on the same day.
That is a great fact.
Yep.
Fantastic fact, by the way. Okay. Now I have a new game for us
Oh, boy.
called Rock With It, Stop With It. Now, if this song comes on, you're just doing a shuffle or something, or you're listening to the radio or whatever. This song comes on. Are you letting it play all the way through from beginning to end? Or at some point, are you just fast forwarding it or skipping it? So
Okay.
rock with it means you're staying with it. Stop with it means, nah, I can't do this. I need to
Alright,
go to something else. First
let's go.
song, Ghetto Superstar.
Imma rock with it.
I'm gonna stop with it unless when I first hear it, it's the ODB stuff. Then I'm gonna hang. If it's Pras, like the beginning of the song, I'm probably not gonna stay the whole time. But if I get to but if I hear it when the ODB part comes on, I'm staying with it for the rest of the song.
Alright.
Gone till November.
Oh, Imma stop with it. The original version, I don't particularly care for, and then the remix has a certain person on it that we mentioned earlier that I no longer listen to, so I'm stopping with it in both cases.
I'm going to rock with it, the original version, because this is a version of Wyclef that I actually find kind of charming. Like, I
One
like
thing.
the idea where he's just like, "You know what? I'm this traveling musician. I'm Bob Dylan. Like, that's who I'm." That I kind of enjoy that about him. It's the actual hip hop part of him that I don't really like as much. I like the music, like when he sees himself as a little bit more of a musician than like a rapper. I like that version of Wyclef better. So I
There
think
is
that's why I stayed
a
with it.
corniness to Wyclef that's actually kind of charming.
Yes. We're gonna get to one of those corny songs in a second. I
Oh,
only have 6 for you, by the way, don't worry.
okay,
A lot of them are Wyclef though, just because I find his catalog so interesting.
okay.
Okay, the Nappy Heads remix.
I'm gonna rock with it. I like that song.
I'm gonna rock with it too. 911, Wyclef and Mary J. Blige.
That's one of those dependent on mood kind of things. I would say more often than not, I'll probably stop with it. I love Mary J. I don't need to hear Wyclef singing.
Even when he's like, "Feel my body getting cold." What is he doing in that song?
I mean, kudos to him for not using technology to like, but eh,
Mary's awesome on that song,
yes,
by the way.
yeah, that's enough for me, dog.
But he's like, it's almost like, okay, like in one sense, you put one of the best singers on the album because you or on the song because you want the song to be good.
Right.
But when you yourself go, you know what? I'm gonna try and sing with her. Like, what are you doing, dude? Of all the people to try and sing with,
You ain't going toe to toe with Mary
like,
J.
okay,
Blige.
like let's say for instance, let's say instead of Mary J. Blige, you put Maya on that song.
It doesn't have the same heft to it. Like I think
But Wyclef is also not completely knocked off his keister
right,
at the same time.
right. Yeah, that's a hard game to play, man, because the reason that song is as good as it is because of Mary J. Blige.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. All right. What about Wyclef and Claudette Ortiz, Two
Mm,
Wrongs?
Imma stop with it. I actually didn't really like that song very much then, so I'm okay skipping it now.
I'm probably with you, though I love the idea of Claudette Ortiz.
Okay.
Like, she should have been something, and I feel like she was just with the wrong people.
I mean, City High was basically just like Fugees 2.0.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the idea that whatever I mean, there's a story there, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, very similar to the Fugees, actually. I think one of the members of City High passed away recently and, went through the internet kinda looking at stuff, and Claudette was messing around with one of the dudes, and, like,
Yeah.
it was very similar to the Fugees story.
Okay. Hips Don't Lie.
Stop with it. That's an automatic skip. I do not like that song at all.
Okay, what if you take out the part where Wyclef just keeps going, "Shakira,
Shakira,
Shakira."
Shakira. I don't how did that song become as popular as it ended up becoming? I don't get it.
Okay, but the thing about that song is, it is the same song as Wyclef and Claudette Ortiz, on the Dirty Dancing Havana Nights soundtrack or something, but
Wow,
there's a song called "Dance Like This" with Wyclef and Claudette Ortiz, and it's like the same
the
song
same song?
almost. Yeah.
That's funny.
So,
That's funny.
anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
I do not like that song.
Hips Don't Lie is hard because it was just so overplayed,
It was
but I if
everywhere.
it comes on the radio and I will get a kick out of just trying to find the Wyclef parts of Shakira, Shakira and laugh. That's what I do a lot with a
Yeah.
lot of Wyclef songs, just laugh.
If it comes on at a wedding, I will dance to it. But, Hips Don't Lie is not in my Apple Music library at the moment.
All right, man, I think we got through this.
Okay. I mean, look, it's a great record, period, point blank.
Great time in my music listening. Um, the story of, like, this star who if we would have been able to put money on Lauren becoming whatever, we would have put money on her,
Oh, no,
and it
yeah,
just didn't happen.
yeah. I mean, I've owned that album in all 3 formats. So,
Yeah, you stayed a cassette guy for a long time.
because I was po. And $7.99 is a lot cheaper than $11.99.
Yes, it is, very much so. Do they still make cassettes?
For some albums, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
cassettes kind of made a comeback. It's funny, I was at a friend's place last night, and he has, like, the whole rack system with the cassette player, and I was like,
Wow.
"Dude, like, this is crazy." Had a little collection of cassettes. I was like, okay, I'll mess around with your cassette player a little bit. But
There you go.
yeah, I mean, there's a reason those things didn't last. It's cassettes were poorly made. Cassette players, to get your tape tangled up and
What
then
about
lose the
digital audio tape, man?
I never had DATs. Went from vinyl to cassette to CD, had a little mini disc flirtation, and then
You know what the problem with the mini disc was? The mini disc players?
mm.
They used so much juice that you could not keep a charge very long. Like, that was really a problem because I loved my Sony mini disc, but I'd take it to school, and halfway into listening to one album, the thing
It
would
would
need
die
to be
out.
recharged.
Yeah, I think the reason that I got into mini discs was because of you.
Uh-oh, that's my fault. Yeah, DATs, when I was, working for the radio station, we were moving over to DATs, from
Mm.
reel to reels to DATs.
Wow. Yeah.
Alright, so that is it. The next time you hear us will be also Fugees related because we're gonna have our top 5 episode, our shorter podcast, not as deep dives, it's just a little fun thing. So, alright, for Mike, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.